There is a feeling you cannot name. It hits you when the highway is empty, or when you stare into the reflection of a quiet window. It is the deep, cold ache of realizing you are living a life that belongs to someone else. This is not just anxiety, it is the silent alarm of your abandoned destiny. You have traded your unique calling for social safety, and that exchange is the single greatest betrayal you will ever commit. Your success is a hollow victory. Your relationships are based on a carefully curated image. You look in the mirror and see a perfectly functioning stranger. As Carl Jung once stated at the very beginning of his work, where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, love is lacking. The one is the shadow of the other. We are talking about the subtle tyranny of the collective over your personal will. The question is not what you want, but what your soul demands. And the terrifying truth is that the most dangerous thing you will ever do is choose the comfort of the group over the path of your own meaning. This is the root of your modern crisis of soul. We have been conditioned by a predictable world, a world that demands order, not truth. But here is the immediate catch. The universe is not logical, it is psychological. Your comfort is a debt you are silently accruing. The ultimate interest payment is your life's meaning. You think you are secure, but you are merely postponing the inevitable reckoning with yourself. The real problem is not failure. The real problem is the successful avoidance of the necessary confrontation. You think you are avoiding pain, but you are guaranteeing stagnation. You are using your career success and your agreeable personality as a psychological shield, preventing the necessary breakdown that would force you to evolve. This is the system's genius. It rewards you with trinkets, titles, promotions, validation, every time you ignore the sound of your inner drum. The cost is not financial. The cost is the corruption of your deepest meaning. Your deepest, most vivid experiences are locked behind the fear of social judgment. This is not maturity. It is spiritual suppression. This is the critical difference. The crowd offers you an identity. Your destiny demands you earn one. The moment you choose safety over soul, you step onto the conveyor belt of mediocrity. You become an asset, not an agent. The recognition that your safety net is actually a trap designed by the collective. The psychological consequence of this choice is that your true, untamed energy is redirected against you. The force you should be using to create your life is used to police your compliance. You are using the engine of a rocket ship to power a desk lamp. This is the final, rapid-fire revelation. They own your peace because they bought your silence. You are not a rebel. You are a hostage to the expectations of people you don't even respect. The compliant majority lives in a state of psychological compromise. Their core behavior is defined by the unconscious censor, an inner guard that brutally edits every thought, desire, and action that might threaten their belonging to the group. They are masters of external identity management, meticulously curating their opinions, passions, and even their dreams to fit the collective script. This is what Jung referred to as the persona, but it is not a mask, it is a spiritual cage. The result is the creation of a fragile, two-dimensional self that can be easily loved, but which can never achieve true power. This public self, the agreed-upon facade, demands constant maintenance, consuming the energy that should be fueling your creative life. You are performing, not living. This flaw generates existential devastation. The cost escalates beyond mere anxiety into chronic neurosis and the inability to feel joy. This is the slow death of the spirit. The loss of symbolic life is profound. You live in a flat, literal world. The rich, deep life of the psyche, the realm of symbols and archetypal power, is shut down. The world loses its meaning, becoming a sterile collection of facts and transactions. Your relationships feel transactional. Your achievements feel empty. This loss manifests as persistent boredom and a strange, empty feeling, even during moments of achievement. You bought the expensive house, but it feels like a rental. You achieved the success others admire, but you feel like a tourist in your own life. The inner divorce is happening. You become deeply disconnected from your opposite internal energy. This inner split, the dynamic tension within the psyche, is severed. The man who represses his emotional sensitivity becomes cold and brittle, incapable of deep connection. The woman who represses her assertive rationality becomes scattered and powerless, unable to execute her will. This split means you are operating with half a soul, unable to engage with the world in a whole way. You are constantly searching for your missing half in external relationships, guaranteeing codependency and eventual resentment. The enemy within is rising. Your inner world is in revolt. Your dreams become chaotic, or worse, cease altogether. They are the only honest place left, and your system is trying to silence them. The external enemy is no longer just the social system. It is the force of complacency within your own mind, which prioritizes the comfort of the crowd over the painful truth of your soul. This is the price of agreement. Consider the life of the so-called successful executive. He spends 10 years climbing the corporate ladder, earning a title that means nothing to him. He attends every meeting, agrees with every directive, and never challenges the status quo. Externally, he is admired. Internally, he drinks too much and feels a mounting sense of fraudulence. He sacrifices his true passion, let's say writing or building, to maintain his salary and his acceptable image. The emotional cost is the slow erosion of his self-respect. He is not worried about failure. He is terrified of being unmasked as someone who doesn't belong in the golden cage he built. The moment he looks at his children, he sees the potential he is actively suppressing in them, too, by his example. This is the existential devastation. The tragic irony is that his compliance does not secure his position. It makes him replaceable. His sacrifice was for nothing. The problem is not contained within your workspace. It follows you home. Consider the agreeable partner. She sacrifices her hobbies, her friends, and her strong opinions to maintain peace in the relationship. She believes this sacrifice is love. But beneath the compliance, resentment ferments. Her compliance does not make the relationship stronger. It makes her partner complacent and her own spirit weak. When the inevitable conflict arises, the repressed energy explodes not as a rational discussion, but as an irrational, relationship-destroying outburst. This is the unlived life demanding payment. The silent rule of the compliant majority is that comfort excuses betrayal. And in your pursuit of that comfort, you have betrayed the inner life that was meant to guide you. This collective mediocrity is contagious. It demands that you stay down so others do not have to rise. The ultimate surrender is rooted in our failure to answer the mandate of individuation. We are designed to become whole, unique beings, but this journey requires us to descend into the collective unconscious, the vast, powerful reservoir of all human experience, fears, and wisdom. This is the ancestral memory, the wellspring of all great myths and symbols. We are terrified of this depth because it contains the raw, unedited truth of human nature. We prefer the shallow, sunny surface of the group. The ultimate failure is in misreading the signs of destiny. The universe constantly tries to speak to you through synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that reveal the path forward. Jung defined synchronicity as the coincidence in time of two or more causally unrelated events which have the same or similar meaning. You experience a chain of improbable events, a conversation, a book, a sudden decision that points in one direction, and you interpret this as mere chance. In reality, it is your deeper self and the collective unconscious conspiring to push you toward your calling. You fear these signs because they demand radical deviation from your planned, safe trajectory. They demand that you abandon the known shore. This terror is rational, but it is the antithesis of meaning. The collective unconscious operates on deep forces that demand expression. When you fail to express the calling that resides deep within you, that energy doesn't disappear. It turns into neurosis. It becomes a relentless feeling of unfulfillment. You feel the pressure of unlived lives, as if your ancestors are disappointed. You are running from the very thing that gives existence, weight, and meaning. True happiness does not exist in the absence of conflict. It exists in the tension of the opposites, the struggle between your conscious will and your unconscious demands. When you eliminate this tension by choosing conformity, you eliminate the dynamism of life itself. You become psychologically flatlined. This is the root cause, a philosophical mistake disguised as ethical behavior. The problem is fundamentally metaphysical. You are attempting to live a spiritual life using only material tools. You are seeking inner peace through external order. This is like trying to heal a physical wound with philosophy. It is a fundamental misapplication of energy. The solution is not more control. The solution is more meaning. And meaning only arrives when you answer the unpopular call of the collective unconscious. The reclamation of your life is an aggressive act of spiritual warfare against the force of complacency. This reversal requires you to operate on the level of symbolic life and earned authority. The master understands that the path to wholeness, the journey of individuation, is unpopular, dangerous, and must be initiated through deliberate, conscious choice. This journey demands a complete overhaul of your internal valuation system. You must stop valuing what is safe and start valuing what is real. The master implements the 3 protocols of self-reclamation. You must seize the initiative from your unconscious fear. The power shift happens when you translate the internal metaphor into an external reality. This makes your life a collaborative project between your conscious mind and your deeper wisdom. Protocol 1. The act of waking the symbol. You must re-engage your inner life, which is currently communicating with you through distress signals. Start tracking your dreams. They are the unedited, uncensored communications from the depths of your being. You must treat their images not as nonsense, but as symbolic clues to your repressed inner truth. The master understands that the external world cannot provide meaning. It must be mined from the inner world. This involves learning a new language, the language of the soul. You must dedicate time to silence, not to find answers, but to observe the symbols that arise when your conscious mind is still. Consider this. You are a successful lawyer, miserable, yet dedicated to your firm. You constantly dream of an old, locked door. Repeatedly. The compliant majority sees this as stress. The master treats it as a tactical instruction. The locked door symbolizes a repressed creative project or a necessary confrontation you are avoiding. The act of finding the key, say, writing the first chapter, booking the impossible trip, or making the difficult call, is the demanded action. You are acting on the literal demand of your psyche for movement, not stagnation. This is how you seize the initiative. The power shift happens when you translate the internal metaphor into an external reality, making your life a collaborative project between your conscious mind and your deeper wisdom. Protocol 2. The unpopular protocol of meaning. The compliant majority asks, "What do others need?" The master asks, "What necessary conflict must I now embrace to make my life whole?" Your ultimate value to the world lies not in your perfection, but in the specific way you have suffered and overcome. This transformation of suffering into purpose is the definition of earned authority. You must ruthlessly cut off any goal or activity that derives its meaning solely from external status or collective admiration. This is the act of becoming a specialist in your own destiny. You must choose the unpopular task, the difficult truth, the project that only you understand, because only unpopular truth is uncompromised. Consider this. Your job is safe but drains you. Your calling is a risky startup idea or a difficult, honest art form. The compliant majority chases the profit, prioritizing security. The master applies the unpopular protocol by calculating the financial runway for quitting, not the risk of failure. They choose the path that guarantees the expression of their unique conviction over the comfortable salary. This choice is deeply unpopular with the tribe, but generates massive inner authority. The master understands that money is a resource, but meaning is a non-renewable one. The final calculation is not ROI, it is life lived versus life purchased. Protocol 3, the protocol of active synchronicity. Stop treating life as a linear chain of causality. Start looking for meaningful coincidences. When an idea, a person, or a book shows up 3 times unexpectedly, that is the universe endorsing a specific direction. The master does not wait for certainty. He takes radical action based on the signs. This requires a leap of faith into the chaotic but inherently meaningful flow of life. This is your moment of revelation. The universe is not random. Your inability to read the signs is the only barrier to your destiny. You must act as if every coincidence is a personalized instruction manual written by your deepest self. Consider this. You are struggling with a complex business decision. You randomly encounter 3 distinct, unrelated sources in 1 week that all mention the same obscure historical strategy. The compliant majority says, "Weird coincidence." The master immediately incorporates the idea, not because of logic, but because the symbolic resonance is too powerful to ignore. They use synchronicity as a tactical navigation system, realizing that the deeper reality is confirming a risky choice. This is how you allow the outside world to confirm the truth that you already knew inside. Protocol 4. The strategic embrace of the opposites. Your soul requires conflict. To achieve individuation, you must consciously integrate the opposite forces that scare you. If you are overly logical, you must seek out powerful emotion. If you are too passive, you must cultivate aggressive action. This is the tension of the opposites. By voluntarily holding these two opposing truths, you generate the massive psychic energy required for true transformation. You stop being merely good or bad, and you become whole. This integration is terrifying because it requires you to become the very thing you judged others for being. Consider this. If you are a man paralyzed by doubt, you must deliberately perform an act of irrational confidence, making a significant decision with incomplete information, accepting the anxiety as fuel. If you are a woman overly focused on nurturing, you must enforce a ruthless, intellectual boundary on a toxic relationship. The power of this act frees the inner energy consumed by repression. You become dangerous, and therefore you become safe. This strategic embrace is the final key to the sovereign presence. True authority is not loud, it is quiet, because it is rooted in an integrated self. You are no longer reacting to pressure. You are responding from a place of wholeness. The criticism that once shattered you now merely glances off a unified psyche. You are not defensive because you have already owned your complexity. This is the state of genuine, unshakable power that the compliant majority can only simulate with titles and aggression. This integrated energy is what generates the magnetic quality that draws followers and opportunity, not because you chase them, but because your inner stability demands external alignment. You have seen the price of your betrayal, a life spent chasing the validation of ghosts, resulting in chronic emptiness. The truth is that individuation is the only path to true authority. It is not an endpoint, it is a lifelong, necessary conflict that demands courage, not comfort. The road to becoming who you truly are is unpopular, difficult, and fraught with the risk of being misunderstood. But only on that road will you find the sacred meaning that your soul craves. The master does not look for approval. The master looks for confirmation of the inner world. This is the final pivot. You must stop seeking external validation and instead demand that your external actions align with the deepest symbolic truths communicated through your dreams and synchronicities. This alignment creates the magnetic, unshakable presence of the sovereign individual. People do not follow you because you are nice. They follow you because you are whole. They sense the resolved tension, the integrated conflict, the energy you have reclaimed from the comfortable void. This journey is the only way to escape the generational trauma of the unlived life. Think back to those who raised you. Were they happy, or were they merely compliant? The weight of their suppressed dreams now rests upon your shoulders. You have the moral imperative to break that chain. Your choice is not just for yourself, it is a signal to the future that a life of meaning, however chaotic, is possible. Do not pass on the burden of your own aborted destiny to the next generation. That, above all else, is the final betrayal you must avoid. As Carl Jung warned, nothing has a stronger influence psychologically on their children than the unlived life of the parent. Your greatest responsibility is not to your tribe, but to the life you were meant to live, for the sake of those who will follow your example. So, will you remain a captive of the crowd, editing your soul for popular consumption? Will you continue to hear the call of your abandoned self and choose to ignore it for another paycheck? Or will you begin the terrifying, exhilarating work of becoming the sovereign self? Your immunity to the meaning crisis begins the moment you prioritize the whispers of your soul over the applause of the crowd. Choose the chaos of destiny over the cage of comfort. The predictable cage is the trap. The wild, meaningful life is the destiny you must claim. If you are ready to move from curiosity to commitment, then join this intellectual frontier. Subscribe to this channel now. By subscribing, you declare that you are no longer satisfied with comfortable lies.